Child abuse has a tremendous cost. It has a devastating impact on the child, the family, the community, the nation, and the country, and the world as a whole. It robs, he robs the child of his or her freedom to be who they are. He robs them of their right, their God given right to be happy and to like themselves, to be okay with themselves. So, since it robs the child, it robs society because society now is missing out on what that child could have been, right? Um, and the reason for that, the reason why the child is having a hard time being all that she could be, is because the child is, through no fault of her own, she is too too absorbed with her own preoccupations, with her own pain, with her own trauma, with the legacy of her trauma. So child abuse, it doesn't heal. It does not heal like physical wounds. If it did, it would be so much easier. Child abuse does not heal. The wounds remain for the rest of the person's life. They never truly heal. So knowing the child abuse has such a devastating impact, um, think about all the problems. Think about all the social problems. Think about all the problems everywhere where one person or a group of people do something to hurt another group of people. Now, those people, right? They were all children. Everyone was a child at one time. Everyone was impressionable at one time. And the impression that was made upon them, they carry it for the rest of their life. And it affects everything that they do. It affects how they view themselves and naturally how they view other people and how they treat other people. How they treat other people is a reflection of how they see themselves. And child mistreatment comes in a in a wide array of forms. Okay, uh, emotional, psychological, sexual, physical, and they are all devastating. All of them. So let's talk about how we can stop this worldwide epidemic, this worldwide epidemic of child abuse, child mistreatment. Okay, so the first thing that we do, right? Now we're adults. Now we are adults. And the first thing that we do is don't excuse. Do not excuse the abuse. Do not excuse the parent for the abuse. Now, this ties in with culture, right? Uh, because sometimes people say, oh, I was a bad kid. I got what I deserve. Or, if it wasn't for being whipped, I wouldn't have turned out to be the man that I am. But the point is that we don't see what's behind closed doors. Somebody could look like they got it together. They have their job. They're they're apparently successful, but we don't know what's going on behind closed doors. Okay, as it sometimes we hear reports coming out of people that everybody thought they were upstanding citizens, right? And then what comes out is that they are completely different people behind closed doors. So, and abuse, all types of abuse, affect the person negatively. If the person has a career, they're still affected, right? Maybe they have a career, but they're not really doing what they want to do. Maybe they're not doing what they love. Maybe they have a career and they're successful, but they're not doing what they love. Maybe because they feel they don't deserve it. Okay? So, outward success does not mean that we're okay. It does not mean that. Okay? So, what happens when we excuse the behavior? When we excuse the behavior, it allows the behavior to be repeated, right? We repeat the behavior with our own children. If it's okay, if it was okay for mom, if it was okay for mom to whip me, if it was okay for mom to emotionally neglect me, then I'm going I'm going to do the same, right? That is what allows the abuse to continue. All right. So another thing that allows the abuse to continue is secrecy, right? Not talking about it, not bringing it up. Okay. not confronting, not confronting the abuser. Um, secrecy, secrecy allows the abuse to go and on to the next generation. So we have to bring it to the light, bring it to the surface, okay? Bring it to the surface. Many people don't want to rock the boat. Many people don't want to disappoint, but there's a big price to pay for staying silent. And that price is that the abuse will go on, continue to devastate generations to come. So we do not excuse the abuse, okay? We hold the abusers accountable. Uh, we don't excuse the abuse, okay? And we could hold the abusers accountable in a peaceful way, right? We don't have to we don't have to get violent or anything. We could just do it in a peaceful, affirmative way. Um, Now, facing the pain, facing the painful truth, okay, about the abuse, facing the painful truth about the abuse and how did it affect you, okay? Get down to the core of the issue of the pain because many of us don't feel like we're okay, like we're okay, right? We don't feel okay. There's always something not right, okay? And that is at the lower end of the extreme, right? That's at best. At best, we don't feel right? We don't feel okay inside, right? That's at best. At worst, at worst, it's violence, right? Being violent toward other people, um, just horrific violence in all forms. Okay, that the violence continues, right? We um, we continue it by being violent toward others, right? Either physically or emotionally, right? Um, and remember, to the next generation, right? If we don't face, if we don't understand ourselves, right? If we excuse the behavior of our parents and we don't confront how much it hurt, then our children are going to pay the price for that. They're going to pay the price, okay? Because it's going to go on. It's going to go on. Now, um, stressful situations will trigger, right? Will trigger very powerful emotions, very powerful emotions that were born during the abuse. Okay. Now, when we're parents, of course, we're under stress, right? We are under stress. There are stressful situations often, right? And what do we do? What do we do when things get stressful and it triggers, right? It triggers powerful emotions, right? From our traumatic past. Okay. So we could learn to relax. We can learn to relax. All right. Because one thing that we have is the power of attention, right? We could direct our attention. We cannot control our thoughts, right? Thoughts will come and go, but we could control what thoughts to pay attention to and which to ignore. So, under a very stressful situation, we can choose peaceful thoughts. We could choose peaceful thoughts, okay? We could choose peaceful images, right? We could choose that. We have that power. We have that power, okay? Now, also, allow them to express themselves. Allow children to express themselves and collaborate with you. All right? Let them have a voice. Let them have a voice. Okay? This will give the children, right? Confidence, right? Confidence. They will grow up to be confident adults. Okay? That's what that is the product when you let your children have a voice and collaborate with them, right? That what they say matters, that their voice matters, okay? And this will go a long way into them growing up to be confident people, okay? Confident people, right? So it's important to let the children have a voice, right? Don't don't make your children fear you. The reason for that is a child that fears a parent is a child that is not attached to a parent. They fear you, okay? That's not respect. That is not respect. Respect is what that child does, right? When you're not around and there is no fear of consequences, right? But they hear your advice, what you have taught them, okay? They hear what you have taught them. They remember that, okay? And you're not around, okay? They respect you. They respect your word, okay? So remember, do not a child a child that fears their parent, that's not respect. That is not respect, okay? So remember, when a child fears their parent, they are not attached to their parents. They don't have that bond with the parent. And the way a child is going to listen to a parent is by being attached to that parent. Because if they're attached to you, then they care about what you say. They really care about what you say. They want to please you. They want to please you. So remember that. Okay, so now we know, right, that parents are not perfect. We are not perfect. Right? We are not perfect, right? By virtue of being human, right? We're not perfect. The best parents make mistakes. The best parents. So what do we do when we make a mistake? Uh, that involves our children, right? We apologize to them. Yes, we apologize to them. Okay, we say, "I'm sorry. I'm sorry, son. I made a mistake. I messed up." Okay, If you know, if I fly off the handle, right? If I fly off the handle, lose my cool, right? Then I apologize, okay? Because that lets that is modeling mature behavior for our children. That says to our children, this is what people do when they make mistakes. Okay? This is how people act. This is how responsible people act when they make a mistake. They know they made a mistake. They don't deny it, right? They don't point the finger at somebody else. They don't go on a tantrum. No, they admit their mistake. They admit their mistake. Okay? And children will see us in a more realistic light, like we're real people, that we are real people, right? That we are, you know, yeah, we made mistakes, right? And that lets them know that, okay? And that teaches a child self-control, right? Self-control, okay? And when we show self-control, our children take notice. They notice everything that we do. The good, the bad, and the ugly. They see, they notice everything. And they absorb it. Okay? And it becomes part of them. Becomes part of their inner voice. So modeling, right? Modeling. Exactly. Now going back to the apology, right? Apologizing to the child. Um, what it does, right, besides setting a good example, is that it reestablishes the bond. Okay, because we're not, when we're not perfect, right? My raise our voice too loud, or just just not perfect, right? We make a mistake, right? That we make our children feel bad in some way. We apologize. That reestablishes the bond and the trust that our children have with us, right? And that is what's important. That's what's very important, to have that bond with our children. That's how they're gonna listen to us. That's how they're gonna care about what we say. Okay? So now, so remember, we're talking about how to break this cycle of abuse, the cycle of child abuse, so it doesn't continue on to the next generation, right? So now, if we have, if there's with the other parent, we have a relationship with another parent, right? A good relationship, right? And it's a good relationship, then that is good. That is good uh, for breaking the cycle of child abuse. Okay, having a good relationship with another adult. Okay, and remember, having a relationship with yourself is of utmost importance. Okay, having that relationship good with yourself will lead you to have a good relationship with others. Okay, it will help you do that. So a healthy relationship with another adult, having a satisfying relationship with another adult, will help break the cycle, because you're going to have a good home, a happy home, right? Peaceful home, and that definitely goes a long way. Now, in regards to the relationship with the child, very, very important. Very important to have that good relationship with the child, right? That you are enjoying being a parent, that you enjoy being a parent, that your child can tell that they light up your world, right? That when they come into the room, your eyes light up. You just love your child, having that good relationship, that good bonding with your child. And that's something that we have to work on sometimes, right? Sometimes, especially if we have been um, abused ourselves, right? We are still struggling with having a relationship with ourselves, right? So it's very important that we are the adults, right? We are the adults. We are the adults. The child comes into this world. They don't have to gain our love. They don't have to do anything to be lovable. Okay? It's up to us to sow the seeds of love and trust from very early on. And then what's going to happen is those seeds are going to grow. And then our children will love us, right? But we take the first step. We plant the seeds, okay? So we have to know that how we treat our children, how we love them, how we show appreciation for them, how happy we are that they exist, that they are in our lives, that is going to determine our relationship with our children. So we are in charge of that. Okay, it's not up to our children to make a great relationship with us. It's up to us to sow the seeds of love and the seeds of trust. Okay, and that will come back to us in wonderful, wonderful ways. Wonderful, wonderful ways. Okay, so that's definitely a great way, another way to stop the cycle. Okay, now obviously, right? There's been abuse in our lives, right? Growing up. So get help. Get help. Get help to quiet the pain, to quiet the critical inner voice inside that is really the voice of our abusive parents or abusive caretakers or other abusers. Okay? It's a conglomeration of all the abuse, okay? Of all those who abuse us, all those that mistreated us in multitude of ways, though all those that neglected us, okay? All that has become the inner voice, right? And it tortures us on a daily basis, okay? Remember, we have to recognize that. We have to confront it, okay? We have to confront it because it'll never, first of all, it's something that stays with us, right? But can, we can tame it, right? We can tame it, right? Um, we get help, right? For our trauma, okay? For our trauma. There's uh, many resources out there to get help. There absolutely are. Now, another thing that we want to do is to set boundaries, right? Set boundaries with our children. Like, I'm not going to do this to you, okay? This is something I'm not going to do to you, okay? This was done to me, right? This was done to me, right? And I'm not going to do that to you, right? My mother did this to me. I'm not going to do that to you. Okay? Set boundaries, right? Like you're not going to cross those boundaries where it could turn to abuse, right? So have those those clear boundaries. Like, this is not what I'm not going to do this to my child. Okay, I am not going to talk this way to my child. Right, I am not going to ignore my child. Right, set boundaries. Okay, all right. Now, it's very important, right, to take care of our own needs, right? Take care of our own emotional needs, okay? The child is not responsible for us in any way, shape, or form. They're not responsible for us. We know they're not responsible for us financially. We know that already, right? But they're also not responsible for us emotionally. Okay? We are not to discuss our emotional issues with our children. No, we don't, we don't, our children are not there to counsel us. They're not there to hear our problems. No, no. Whatever problem we have with whomever, we discuss that problem with that person. We don't discuss our problems with our children. Okay? We don't use our children for emotional support or unconditional love. That love that we've been yearning because our parents failed us, right? They failed us. So that love that we didn't get is not for our children. It's not their job to fill our emptiness. No way. That is traumatic for a child. Okay? We're supposed to be the rock. We're supposed to be the rock. Okay? They count on us. We don't count on them. Okay? That is too much responsibility for a child. Okay? We take care of our own emotional needs. We take care, we heal our own wounds. We take care of it ourselves. Our child just needs our love, okay, and our devotion. Okay? All right, very good. Now, so far we have discussed many important ways to stop the cycle of abuse, okay, child abuse. Now, being proactive in protecting our children, right? Being proactive, right? See what's around the corner, right? Um, be be mindful of who's around our children, right? We have to be mindful of who is around our children, who has contact with our children, what are children doing when we're not around, okay? We have to be very watchful of our children, okay? We cannot trust everyone with our children, not even our partner, okay? Okay? Not even our partner, okay? Especially if they're not the child's parent, right? Uh, but we just be proactive, okay? If we have to be watchful, because remember, abuse happens in secrecy, right? Like sexual abuse happens in especially sexual abuse happens in secrecy, right? And that's just the truth. That's just the fact of how things are, okay? Anybody, I mean, when it comes to abusing a child, we know that pretty much, from parents to neighbors to teachers to whoever, right? We see it in the news, right? We see it in the news, right? There's not one category of people that won't abuse a child. We see it in the news. We see it in when it comes out, right? So we have to be proactive. We have to be mindful, alert, and when it comes to protecting our children, okay, and teach the children about their bodies, right? Teach them about their bodies, right? About the different parts of the body, and what their function, in an age appropriate way, their function. And if we have shame about around sex, do not pass that on to the child. Do not make the child feel shameful around sex, okay? uh, because we want to stop. We want to stop. Uh, if there was some sexual abuse going on when we were growing up, we want to make sure that our children are informed, okay, about sex, what's appropriate, what's not appropriate, right? Teach them what is not appropriate, right? Uh, okay, and what to do, if God forbid, right, somebody touches them the wrong way, what to do. Say no, scream loudly, right? uh and remember that that's when that attachment is so important, because that attachment means they trust you, and they will tell you if somebody try to do something inappropriate to them. So that attachment is so crucial, okay? Which is part of protecting our children, right? Being attached, having our children being attached to us is part of protecting them, okay? Because it assures us that they will come to us, okay? In the case that anything happens to them, okay? God forbid. Um, okay, very good, very good. So also, we want to avoid harsh punishment. Want to avoid harsh punishment. Okay? Okay? Avoid harsh punishment because, you know, we were abused. We know, harsh punishment, right? It makes us fear our parents, which interferes with the bonding, right? That's why when parents are harsh to their children, something that happens to the child's not going to tell the parent. It's not going to tell the parent. And the parent's not going to be able to do his or her job, which is to protect the child. Okay? So, uh, no harsh punishment. No harsh punishment, right? Because it also desensitizes the child, right, to harsh punishment. The child says, you know what, this is normal, right? It's normal. So somebody else that might, you know, uh, treat your child harshly, your child's going to think that it's normal. Okay? So it desensitizes the child, right? And remember, the child will tend to repeat it too, right? With his or her own children when the child becomes an adult. Okay? So, now, remember, another thing that is that all types of abuse, they overlap. Okay? Like, I think all abuse is mental. Okay? I think all abuse is mental because all abuse is mentally devastating. Okay? All abuse is mental. Right? Not all abuse is sexual, right? Not all abuse is physical, right? But I believe all abuse is mental and emotional. all abuse, okay? Because it wreaks havoc on the child's mind and their emotions, okay? Now, one thing that I would like to bring up is that, you know, people, right? Uh, survivors of abuse, one thing they consistently say, right, is that emotional abuse is the most devastating. Okay, think about that for a minute. Emotional abuse, right, is the most unbearable type of abuse, right? Think about it. Think about that for a minute, right? I mean, people say, right, words are words, right? Stick and stone may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Well, that's definitely not true, especially when you're a child, right? Especially when you're a child. Right? So think about that. Um, Emotional abuse, right, is consistently reported as the most unbearable type of abuse. Yeah. Now, think about that. Yeah. Let's think about that, right? Think about that for a while. Think about that for a while. Okay. It's a type of abuse that is unnoticed, right? Because they're words, right? You know, they're words, and the person doesn't have to scream, right? The abuser doesn't have to scream at the child to abuse them emotionally, right? So there's no screaming, there's no screaming, there's no signs, no outward signs, but it's devastating, the emotional abuse, right? It's devastating, okay? So remember, use parental parenting resources as well. um, Parenting resources, okay? Because we all, right, especially new parents, right, especially new parents, uh, can benefit from parenting resources. Okay, uh, you know, knowledge is power, right? The more we know, the better, right? So I gave you a list, right, of ways to break the cycle of child abuse. Okay, please think about these. Think about these. Watch the video again. Um, Look them up. Okay, they're found. They're out there. Many resources out there. So I hope that I caught your interest and you will do. Um, as a matter of fact, I'm gonna leave a link. I will leave a link so you could go over these yourself. Okay, so I will leave a link in the description. Okay, so you could go over these yourself. Now, so child abuse is is to be taken very very seriously. Okay, very seriously. All right, because the problems that we see with people all around the world, okay? Every act of violence, okay? The apathy, right? The distrust, all the negative things you see around the world, they stem from childhood, okay? Everyone was a child. Every adult, every leader, every person, every parent, every doesn't matter. Everyone was a child once. Okay? And when you see a person that they're they're attacking someone or they're victimizing someone, think about it. They were a child once. Okay? And if we stop child abuse, we're gonna change the world. We're gonna change the world. We stop child abuse. Um, so if you found this, if you believe this is important, give it a like so you can let I will know that you think this is important. And if you're interested in uh, more videos like this, go ahead and subscribe. Okay, lets me know that there are people out there that are interested in topics like this. Um, so um, I'll be looking forward to hearing from you. And until next time, you have yourself a wonderful day. Take care.